Hello, boys and girls. These are the materials that you will need if you plan to do the lesson with me. If you do not plan to do the lesson with me, you can view the recording later or just say the sounds with me as I go through the lesson. You will need these 2 pages, 2 colors, and a pair of scissors. We need 2 colors because there are 2 letters in the word that we're working with today. If you do decide to do this lesson with me, it will appeal to different types of learners. It's a visual activity, so if you are a visual learner, this will be good for you. If you're a tactile learner, we will be using the pencils and the scissors and pointing to the words, and that's a good tactile learner activity. And also, if you're an auditory learner is one that can listen and learn by just listening. You may pause this video if you would like to go get your materials. Today's word is do. D-O spells do. D-O spells do. D-O spells do. Let's say it loud. D-O spells do. Let's say it soft. D-O spells do. Let's say it fast. D-O spells do. D-O spells do. D-O spells do. Let's say it slow. D-O spells do. D-O spells do. Let's say it in our heads. Nice job. Let's see if I cover this letter. We know that D, spells do. D, spells do. That's right. D-O spells do. What if I covered this letter? O spells do. O spells do. That's right. D-O spells do. D-O spells do. Let's do a rainbow right. I have 2 of my favorite colors, and I have a word, a sight word, that has 2 letters. I will choose the gray to color in the D. D-O spells do. D-O spells do. Now for the second letter, I'm going to rainbow write my O red. D-O spells do. Nice. I love that. Okay, I have 2 more times that I want to do this rainbow color activity. D is gray. I want to make sure I stay in the lines as best I can when I'm coloring. D-O spells do. And my O will be red again. I want to make sure I stay in the lines, and I can take as long as I can, or as long as I need to make sure I get it just right, because D D-O spells do. My third rainbow right, D-O spells do. My D will be gray. And my O will be red. D-O spells do. D-O spells do. Okay, we've completed the top section. The second section says find the word and color it in. Now we have to find the word do and color in the box. If it's not a word do, then we just leave it blank. We leave it alone. So let's start with the first word. D-O. D-O spells do. That's it. So let's color in this box, guys. There we go. Okay, let's go to the second word. Y-O-U. It's not our word. I bet you know that word, but it's not our word, so we leave it alone. W-E. Is that our word? D-O spells do. W-E. That's not our word, so we leave it alone. D-O. D-O spells do. That's our word. Good job, guys. We color it in because D-O spells do. Okay, let's go to the last word on the top row. D-O. D-O. That's our word. D-O spells do. That means we color in the entire box because it is our sight word. D-O spells do. Okay, all right, you guys do the rest of this activity, these 2 rows, with your learning coach. Okay, the third section, first section, second section, and third section. It wants us to trace the word do. D, we stay on the dotted lines. And O. Make sure you stay on the dotted lines. D, O. And the last word. You take as long as you need to do this and pause this video at any point. D-O, D-O, D-O spells do. Now the fourth section, write the word on your own. So, in your very best handwriting, go very slow and come straight down and around to make the D. O, D-O. Let's do that again. Straight down. and around, and O. And the last, down, around, and O. D-O spells do. Okay, for the last section, we have to cut these letters out and we have to decide what letters go in these two boxes because there's two boxes and we have two letters in our word. So we have to decide which one of these letters goes here and here, and then we do it again, here and here. Okay, here are our letters. So we know we have two boxes and two letters. So the first box should have the letter D. The first box should have the letter D. D, spells do. D-O spells do. Great job, guys. Okay, you do the second part with your learning coach. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson today, and I hope that you will continue to work on your sight words with your learning coach.